these spaces were not always friendly towards women, like never hostile necessarily, but just were not built for women, right? And so there was a lot of over talking. There was a lot of just advice that wasn't uniquely tailored to us. There's just a lot of ickiness sometimes. And so Kelani and I had gotten put in this group chat on Instagram and we just kind of started talking and came up with the idea of a women in real estate group. And like women wanted a space that was for us, that was uniquely suited to the challenges that we have in this industry as women, and especially as women of color.
Welcome to the Share the Wealth Show, where minority professionals can learn to escape the racial wealth gap and catapult themselves into abundance. Your host, Nicole grew her net worth from being negative to multiple six figures. Join her on her investigative mission to expose secret strategies of the wealthy so we can all have the tools needed to build the life and legacy we were created to possess. Now it's time for the show.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Share the Wealth Show. And today I have with me Brittany Rose and Kelani Blackwell, the founding members of WIRE Women in Real Estate, of which I am a proud member and have been for a few years now, 2 years at least now, right? Time goes by. But in any case, I'm super excited to have these ladies on today. If you do not know who they are, you definitely need to tune in and hear about all the amazing things that they're doing and just the growth that they've had. And I'm excited myself to even dig in a little bit more, probably find out some things that I didn't know. Maybe I'll blow up their spots. Maybe I'll find something new that a lot of people don't know. And I don't know, because we're on the air, they won't be able to say no to me or shirk the questions. In any case, hello, ladies, and thank you so much for joining me today and being on here.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us. We appreciate it.
Of course. So, all right, first, this is going to be like a random question because I want to just jump into some things. And this is off topic, maybe off topic, but might lead us to where we're going to go anyway in the discussion. What was your worst workplace experience?
I have had very few workplace experiences because
So let Kelani take that one.
Yeah.
Sure. So, oh my. Okay. So one of my worst, I have a couple. So it took me a minute. Brittany's been in entrepreneurship. She's been, living that life for a while. Me more so recently over the last couple of years. But I've always worked in real estate. I worked in real estate for like the last 8-9 years at this point. And so being in this space, you get to see a lot of inequities, marginalization, the whole nine. But when I became a commercial broker, I was told by a teammate, which let me give you a little bit of backstory. Commercial brokerage is not an equitable, diverse space. Most people in those spaces are older white men, right? And so that's on both sides of the table. That's internally with your colleagues as well as clients on the other side, right? So that's who you interact with for the majority of your time. And I was newer in this space, and we were going to take a property tour, take some content, and I was told that I should wear my hair straight out of protection for me, which to save me from the opinions of colleagues and clients, when that really, that should have been a supporting moment, right? First of all, it shouldn't have even been a conversation. Second of all, if it was going to be a conversation, it should have been a supportive conversation. So
wow,
that's probably one of my most traumatic moments.
Yeah. And it's weird because I don't know. And what's sad about it is I don't know the difference if people understand that that's hurtful or inappropriate, or they really just think that they're being supportive in their mind, they're being supportive. And that's, I think, is also a bigger issue because there's just so much lack of knowledge when it comes to those kind of things.
Oh, 100%. It was one of those moments where it was like, what? did you say what I just think you said? And I had to take a moment. I didn't even react harshly. Like when it happened, I said, I said, I had to take a moment. I had to process it. And then I had to come back the next day and I said, just so we're clear, don't talk about my hair again. And I had to have that kind of conversation, but here we are.
Well, see, big girl muscles, because I'm glad you actually came back and addressed it, because most people don't. I'll tell quickly my story. So you guys know I have natural hair. I normally wear it curly if I'm wearing it out, or recently, last few years that you've known me, I've been wearing kind of the same hairstyle with the shortcut. And I work in a hospital, and so there's a patient who came in, and super nice, bubbly, friendly kind of patient. And she was telling me when she saw me and saw my hair, just how beautiful it was and, all this stuff. And then she went directly into a conversation about her, I guess, nanny. I don't forgot what title she gave her, but who was
Okay.
from some country in Africa, and just like talking about her hair and how she did something with her hair or helped braid it, or I don't, she didn't help braid it because this is a white lady. But I don't know, it was something with the African helper's hair that she was trying to give advice or whatever on, and like her kids' hair and all this other stuff. And but like she was saying it in a way that she thought it was like she was helping so much and doing all this great thing. And the whole time I'm thinking in my head, like,
Living with this hair
really?
my whole life. Why are you telling me about my hair?
Yeah, like I don't
Oh,
understand. Firstly, your comments and suggestions were very inappropriate to whoever it is who you've hired. And also the fact that you have to tell me about your African worker because you see I'm a Black girl sitting in front of you. Like,
mm-hmm.
why do I need to know about, like, is that the only other person you know and you've had a conversation with about their hair and their hair looks like mine? And then she proceeded
Right.
to go like, oh, can I touch it? It's so beautiful. And of course yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyone who
Um,
doesn't know, do not even ask to touch a Black woman's hair. Don't even ask.
but before I could answer, she had already, and I was just like, oh, yeah, because she was saying it was so nice. And I was just like, oh, thank you, as I backed away to the side. But it was like, I'm in a professional environment. I don't want to yell at a patient who's going through traumatic stuff. So maybe, I don't know if that's her
Mm.
defense mechanism. Not, no, I think that's kind of just how she is.
Yeah,
But yeah.
sounds about right.
It not the moment for me to have a conversation with her because of course I don't see her again for another 3 months when she comes for a follow-up. So it's got one of those things that's in and out and you don't have the chance to really address it. But in any case, I
Yeah.
feel your pain.
I
Yeah.
will say I also have a traumatic hair story. For
All
any, I
right.
don't know if you know this, Nicole, I'm a former professional cheerleader. Did you know that?
Yes. Yes,
Okay,
I
okay.
did know that. I digged into
So
your
you can
info.
imagine how protective professional teams are about their image and their brand and things like this. And this was like right before kind of like the Me Too movement, Black Lives Matter, like a lot of our social awakening types of things. And so it was very important to them that my hair was very particular. And they told me where to buy my hair, who they didn't tell me who to have do my hair, but they told me to go to another girl on the team to find out who had done her hair. I didn't have any say in what my hair looked like or what I look like really. And so once I quit, well, I didn't once I finished my season, I that was one of the sticking points for me. I just felt so inauthentic because I couldn't even choose how I was going to wear my hair on a day-to-day basis. And so the next 2 years, I wore my hair completely natural. So like my hair, like this is obviously natural now, but my hair is really tightly coiled and it's like a real tightly coiled fro. And I did nothing to it. Like I washed it, I picked it, but like I had a full-on afro for 2 years because I was like, I'm gonna just do whatever I want with my hair. It's going to be in its rawest, most natural form. And I'm going to, just stick with that because it was so traumatic to have little girls come up to me and be like, oh, you're so pretty. I love your hair. And I have 10 pounds of makeup on and my boobs are taped up to my chin and I have fake hair extensions. I didn't want that to be their representation of beauty, So Actually, I do have a workplace story, and that would probably be one of the definitely most traumatizing events.
Wow. And I can understand and see how that would be, a requirement in that field. And I wonder if it's changed at all, or
It
at least
has. You
loosened
see a
up.
lot of women, a lot of Black women now with natural hair, like their own natural hair, not like any additional pieces or whatever. And you see women with locks. So I
Well,
was
on teams, on cheerleading teams.
yeah. That
Oh, oh.
that was that was not my time. That was not my time period. So I'm happy to see that starting to happen.
Looking to build wealth with real estate? Are you all tapped out on YouTube University and ready to get help tailored to your specific situation and goals? Have you always known that you are a little different from the crowd, that you never liked following the status quo, and that you're just tired of living in mediocrity? You want to build wealth on your own terms outside of Wall Street? Well, then maybe the Microfamily Mavericks mentorship program can help with that. It's a community where I handhold you through the process of buying your first small commercial multifamily building, because not everyone is ready for 100 units out the gate. Why multifamily? Because it gives your rental income a hedge against vacancy. Imagine what happens when your single family rental tenant leaves, right? And why commercial 5+ units? Because you have much more control over increasing the building's value in the commercial space, and then in turn, increasing your own net worth. Starting small is a stepping stone to so much more, because then you can tap that equity and buy another building and another and another, and you get the point. So increasing your cash flow and your ability to be job optional along the way. It's all a part of the journey. So if you think big, but you want to start small, and if you know multifamily real estate is a way for you to open the door to building a life of freedom, abundance, and legacy, but you just need someone to guide you step by step, and you want to be surrounded by other people on the same journey, doing the same thing, then just click the link in the show notes to find out a little bit more about the Microfamily Mavericks, and I look forward to potentially seeing you on the inside. So now back to the show.
Well, and it's funny because, and if I could just interject this little point, it was really funny when Brittany and I met and found each other. And I remember when we met each other for the first time in person in Atlanta on my birthday, there was just like this unspoken, wear what you want, look how you want vibe. We've never been the type to be like, you need to dress different or dress more professional or do your hair different or wear different makeup or not show your midriff or not, you know what I mean? We, from the very moment I think that we met, we both heavily agreed on, you're an individual, I'm an individual, and we want everyone in our energy, in our space, and who absorbs this energy to feel like they can be authentically themselves. And that came with a very, very unapologetic energy about how we presented. And I don't think that's ever been a point of contention for us, literally ever.
Never. So. And I think it's attracted the right people to us too, because y'all both know I'm all about a midriff. Okay. I feel like at some point in my life, I'm not going to be about it. So I'm going to enjoy it while I am. Right. And so but it has attracted other women who are body positive, who are encouraging, who are supportive, who are authentic to themselves and appreciate you being authentic as yourself. So I think even though it wasn't strategic, I think it's been a kind of like a secret sauce almost.
Yeah, I would agree.
I love that.
We didn't know either. So yeah.
No, and you know what? Because I've seen the pictures of you guys like on stages and with microphones and do these big presentations, and you both have on like leather pants and like, maybe a little bit low cut cleavage or the midriff or whatever it is. And I'm just like, they look super fly. Like, you have a short leather skirt and all that. And I'm like, it still looks professional. You're still just showing up as yourself. And I'm like, you're not trying to just like wear, slacks and a button up, because that's what's acceptable in, some cultures or what some people think of as professional. You're redefining what professional is, and you do a great. And once you talk and the words that come out of your mouth, like no one would ever even question your level of professionalism and what's,
And a lot of women, I think, feel like they have to play smaller in order to be taken seriously. And if you feel like you have to do that, then you're not talking to the right people. You're not in the right environment, right? You shouldn't have to ever play small or be inauthentically yourself. There have been moments where we've showed up at events, and yes, the leather trouser is my jam. I love that. I love a nice trouser and a t-shirt, right? Like I'll rock a wire t-shirt on stage in a heartbeat. Or I am, or again, Brittany's thing is like her midriff shirts under her blazer, and they look good right now. If she look crazy, like don't let your friends look crazy, right? Okay, let's make sure we set that tone. Don't let your friends look crazy. However, you should never be reduced to be authentically yourself. Be the first one to be like, well, we'll wake up at the beginning of the day at an event, and we'll be like, what kind of vibe are we feeling today? Are we going more casual? We're going to really dress it up. And in days that we're feeling more casual, we'll walk into a conference where people are in suits, and we walk up on stage in a sweatshirt and some nice jeans and some heel, and it's because when you cut your own check, nobody can tell you how to be. And so when we realize like, wow, we have a viable business here, and we can present this in whatever way we feel like represents the business, then it makes other people around us feel a lot more comfortable. So we have been adamant about showing up authentically since day one.
And I will double down. When you cut your own checks, nobody can tell you how to be. And I discovered that in my first company at 18. And then I was like, I'm not going back. Right? Like I can't survive in an environment where people have so much power over who I get to show up as. And so Wire is like the perfect home, because it's just an opportunity to just fully be who I want to be, live how I want to live. And so in Wire, and Nicole, you know this, we do a lot of work around core values. And one of the biggest core values for me is freedom. And that looks like a lot of different things, but it especially looks like showing up as myself, not having to be a different person when I walk into my workspace than I am on the weekends with my family, right? So I think that's one of the blessings of building a community. You decide who's welcome there. You decide who you're going to be there. You decide if people aren't aligned with your core values, who stays there, right? I think that's been just monumental in building a business and building a life that we love.
So I definitely agree with all what you guys both just said, especially about the whole cutting your own check. I love that. But we'll still get to where you are now and dig a little bit more into what you're doing now. But what do you think, what was your childhood and growing up like? Where did this mindset of like growth and abundance and self-confidence and showing up unapologetically, where did that all stem from in both of your like childhoods, and what, I guess, work or progress or hurdles did you have to go through to get to where you are mindset wise today?
My mom literally brainwashed me. Like, my mom went into MLM, like multi-level marketing. She did Mary Kay, and I think she might have done some other things. But, as a kid, I would say, third grade and under, I can remember pretty specifically this being a thing. But we would ride around in the car and we would listen to all the MLM tapes, all the motivational tapes, right? And it became a part of who I've become. And Nicole, I'm sure you can attest to this. I'm a very happy, positive person. I always see like the bright side of things. I'm a very motivational by nature. I'm pretty sure that's where it came from. And I put two and two together because one day I asked my mom, like, how did you know me and my sister were going to go to college? Like, how there are people in the world, a lot of people in the world who college is an option, or like in their family, like not everybody has to go to college or wants to go to college. And my family, it was just expected that that's what you were going to do. And so I asked her like how she knew that, or how she impressed that upon us. And she said, I spoke to you like there was never a doubt, like there was never an option, like that was just what you were going to do. The same way you were going to go from middle school to high school, you were going high school to college. And then I was like, oh, so you've been brainwashing me about all sorts of stuff this whole time. So like I think that's where I get it from. And It has not always been easy, especially in the younger years of my life where not very many people are interested in personal development. Finding other people, finding my tribe was really challenging. And even though I had friends and I loved my friends, I love my friends, it's not always the same as having community. And so that was tricky to navigate, and you kind of just got to be okay being off the beaten path until you find your people.
Love that. Kelani, any of your stories from your childhood you want to share?
Oh my gosh, so many. Brittany, that's so funny that you say that. My mom did this MLM called Market America this one time. And I distinctly remember being in our living room. It's so funny how Brittany and I know each other so well, and then we still learn new stuff about each other. It's so funny. So I remember being in our living room when I was like, I had to have been maybe like 11 or 12. And she hosted this meeting at our house about these health products. And I remember the tapes as well. I literally could like do the presentation with her. So that's so funny. So I guess my childhood was a little different. Both of my parents came from very tough upbringings. I mean, very tough. And both of my parents were very, very strict. And I think like if you know me now, you'll be like, oh, that makes sense. But both of my parents were super, super strict on me. And I struggled a lot as I got older to outgrow the people pleasing, for lack of better terms, because I always would seek the approval from my parents. I never stepped out of line. I never did anything bad. I never got in trouble. I always got good grades. And as I became a teenager, I started to rebel. So I used to hate my mom for moving me away from Columbus, Ohio to California. Like that was something like my dad was there, my dad's side of the family was there. And I had like 2 years of really hardcore rebellion for the first time in my life because of that. And I used to be so mad because I had a choice, but I could not be with my mom. I could have stayed in Ohio, but I could not be with my mom. And so I ended up going to California, living a completely different lifestyle. And for the first time, really seeing my mom flourish in because I witnessed her making a decision for herself. And I saw what that did for her. And that was a very empowering, hindsight's 2020, but now looking back, it was a very empowering and defining moment in her life. And once I got through this rebellious stage, which I'm actually really grateful for. I feel bad all the time because I'm like, okay, God is going to curse me by giving me a daughter just like me because I know I was a headache for her. I know this is like in my cards. It's coming at some point. I know it is. And, but I guess I say all that to say, in hindsight, the rebellious stage of me, really, I learned that I could make decisions for myself. Even if there were things that my parents disapproved of, or I went a path or direction that they didn't understand, I was going to be okay. Because I learned what I needed to learn. And so as I got older, I seek their approval a lot less. However, they still supported me in everything that I did. Picked me up, dust me off, said, hey, we don't think that this is what you should do, but if you're going to do it, just be the best at it. Give it 100%, figure it out. And I remember there was this point in my life when I was 19, 20 years old, where my parents were like, man, you're just lazy. Like, what are you trying to do? And I'm like, lazy? No, I just don't want to do what y'all want me to do. But as I figured that out, I really discovered that I had the ability to make things happen. Work ethic means something. Working hard means something. It's not lucky. People are not out here just lucky, right? You get results with hard work. So as I started to make things happen for myself, I've discovered my own power, my own abilities. And so I just am really thankful for that journey in my life because, by the time COVID came around and women in real estate became a thing, had I been anybody else, I don't know that this would have become what it's become today.
Nice. Well, you just said something that makes me want to dig in because I always ask myself this question in my own attempts to be kind of like self-reflective and not introvert, but like look internally, exactly, introspective, whatever. The difference between questioning myself if I'm lazy versus working hard versus working smart and all that kind of how that all ties in together, because there's one train of thought where it's like, you have to work hard, you have to grind, 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 you got to stay up, late at
Hustle
night, you got to wake up
culture.
early in the morning, you got to do all this stuff. And then the other ones is like, no, you don't have to do that. You have to work smarter. You need to leverage people and systems and all these other things. So I do think I don't want to say that hard work at all is not necessary, but there's different concepts of what hard work is relative. Because it may
Mhm.
be like our parents' version of hard work is not the same as our version of hard work. But then how do you know, or really like kind of, or not know, because it's all relative, like I said, but what are your thoughts on what is considered like hard work versus balancing that with lifestyle and working smarter so that you can still get big results? Are you hindering yourself by not doing all the hard work mantra? You know what I mean? So that's always just like something that's in my head. And I question about, should I be doing more or should I be leveraging more and still trying to have that time with, family and all these other things? Or is that going to make my growth slower?
Oh, it's the capitalism. It's the capitalism. No, I'm sorry. It's like we're taught like, oh, go do more, do more, do more. And like, do you want to? Do you want to? Is that what you want? Like, I think there's such a blessing in that everybody is different and everybody wants different things. What I've discovered recently is like, do I want to be, do I want to have $50 million? Like, yeah, it would be nice. But am I willing to give up my freedom for $50 million? Like, is that my core value? Am I willing to give up my core value for that? No. It's more important to me to be free, right? And so what's more important to you? And I think this is what I think Kelani's going to really agree with me on this. There is a spot between hustle culture and lifestyle culture, and the spot in between is grace, right? It's like it's God's area. It's like what you're meant for, what is for you, that you can't get to that just by hustling, right? Like there's nothing in my life that I could have done to deserve the blessings that I've gotten. Nothing. Yes, I worked hard. Yes, I went to school and I studied and I went through business and I did all those things. Yes, absolutely. But there's a certain amount of grace that God has given me that can't be hustled for. You know what I mean? And so I
Favor,
think
favor.
the favor, yes, because favor is not fair, right? That's one of my favorite things. And I think we just have to be okay living in that spot and being really clear about what it is that we actually want. Some people want to hustle, and that is okay. And some people just want to live, and that is okay too. And when we all do what we're meant to do, what we like doing, it means there's an abundance. There's no scarcity. There's no reason for me to be upset or to hate on anybody else, because this is my lane, this is my world. I think when we start to like look at it more in that perspective, it takes away a lot of that stress.
Mm-hmm. And how many of us know really rich people who are super unhappy? So many, right? We have a lot of friends like that. To be perfectly honest, we know a lot of people that have a lot of money and are very unfulfilled. And so my goal is to be happy. My goal is happiness. I want nice things. I want a lot of things. Money is a resource. And y'all probably heard me say this a million times over the last couple of years. It's a resource, not the source. And so when you sit back and you ask yourself, what am I hustling this hard for? It's most people are going to say something around for their families, for whatever, right? And that's why it's so clear that's why it's so important to be clear on your purpose and your why, which is why we harp on it so much. So I guess to more directly answer that question, our life coach that we brought into Wire, who has imparted a lot into me, she says, do not should all over yourself. And I'm air quoting the word should, right? You cannot should all over yourself. And she also told me, are you chasing people or are you chasing things? And I'm like, wow, that's so interesting, because what's going to fulfill you are your relationships. God did not intend us to be alone, which is why if you have to be in pursuit of something, chasing your purpose, you should do it with a community of like-minded individuals so they can help you satisfy the needs and the wants of the progress that you're seeking and the goals that you're looking to achieve, as well as the support that one needs to do so. Brittany, you said something really great, and I want to one of the things I like to say all of the time is I am in this world. I am not of this world. I could care less what the culture tells you. I could care less that hustle, 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 grind, grind, grind is the culture. Now, I'm not perfect. I am a workaholic. I am completely anal when it comes to business things, when it comes to professional things, when it comes to work product. I oftentimes would rather do things myself than delegate them because I feel like I'm the one who's going to do it right. Now, is there room for that in some regard? Absolutely. Is that why the brand is what it is today and why it looks like what it looks like today? Sure, partly. But I have to, I've been really working on trying to make sure that I don't lose the priority, which is to seek the kingdom first. We're both women of faith, and we both, are really blessed. I think we've both experienced a lot of favor with the way God just dropped wire in our laps. We didn't plan for this. We didn't know that this was what it's going to be. So in times where we're working super hard, or where we're disagreeing, or in times where we're under high stress moments, or whatever it looks like, I have to refocus and get back to the point that this was an assignment from God. I can't outwork his plan anyway. So you might as well just fall in line. So.
Yeah, I love all of that. There was something there. I'll go back to that later. But now, since we're bringing up community and Wire, tell anyone listening, what is Wire? How did that come about? And just dig into the evolution of what Wire is and how it came to be what it is today.
You want me to go first on that one, Britt?
Yeah, she's really good at like these types of things.
She always passes those ones off to me. What's super funny about this question is I would have answered this question probably different a year ago versus how I answer it now, because I don't know that Brittany and I knew that we were building community, because it wasn't called community before. It was called like courses, products, all of the things that the gurus sell and say, that now they're all like, hey, how do we build community? And now they're coming to us like, how did you guys do that? How are you guys? Well, Brittany, I have to catch you up on a couple conversations I had recently actually about this very thing. Like, what do you guys do at Wire? It's so funny. So we are a membership-based community where we provide resources, connectivity, education, and events to women in all different sectors and all different stages of real estate. That is, in a nutshell, that's exactly what women in real estate, or what we call Wire, is. And so we do that through a virtual platform where we all congregate, meet, host events, and meet frequently. And then we also have in markets where we have high concentration of members, we have local chapters, which Brittany basically heads up and makes sure everybody gets to meet each other in person and all of the good things. Now, there's a lot of layers to running a community, but in a couple of sentences, that's what it is.
Are you enjoying this episode? Then stop what you're doing right now. Head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It really helps our show get pushed to more people who are looking for the information that we're sharing here. We have to share the wealth. If you listen to us on YouTube, make sure you like the episode that you're listening to right now and subscribe to our channel. Then share the channel with somebody else. There are people out there looking for the information you're listening to right now. So make sure you share it with someone who you know needs it. Now, back to the show. Okay. And how did I know this story about how you met and how this started, but let everybody know, how did you guys meet? What was, before you even thought about creating a Wire or what the name would be or whatever that is, what was the first time you met, and what was like the first conversation you had, and how did even the idea of creating this come about?
I feel like we were in a group chat was the first conversation. Or were we in a group chat on Instagram with like a couple other people from Clubhouse? Like we met on Clubhouse. And actually we joined the same day, but we didn't know each other. And we didn't even know we joined the same day until I think a year later or 2 years later. And we were, Clubhouse was so much fun when it started. And it was just everybody giving free information. And I honestly think that it made quite a contribution to the acceleration of wealth in a lot of communities and for a lot of people, because it was just free game. But these spaces were not always friendly towards women, like never hostile necessarily, but just were not built for women, right? And so there was a lot of over talking, there was a lot of just advice that wasn't uniquely tailored to us. There's just a lot of ickiness sometimes. And so Kaylani and I had gotten put in this group chat on Instagram, because this was before Clubhouse, you could back chat or do any of that. And we just kind of started talking and came up with the idea of a women in real estate group. And I had 3 or 4 groups by this time. And I was like, listen, I can't apply for another club. You have to apply for this club. And it took me like a couple weeks of being like, hey, did you apply for the club? Did you apply for the club? Before she did. And once she did, it took on a life of its own. Like, women wanted a space that was for us, that was uniquely suited to the challenges that we have in this industry as women, and especially as women of color. And so that's kind of how we got started. And it was just on Clubhouse, and then we started doing a mastermind, and then we started doing a bunch of events in public, like in person, which I think maybe that first year we probably did like 20 events or something like that. Like the floodgates opened. COVID was still happening, but it wasn't super like restrictive anymore. And so everybody was outside. We were all just like literally running to go outside and to be a part of connectivity with each other, right? And so that kind of launched this into what it is now, which is Wire, and it's grown into this beautiful community of supportive, wonderful, incredibly talented women, both in person and online.
I love that. And I'll tell you guys my little story about how I found you on Clubhouse. My one of my friends, she had found out about Clubhouse probably like the fall before I ended up joining, and she was pushing it so hard. We have like a core group of friends from college and we still keep in touch. She was pushing it so hard, like, y'all gotta get on Clubhouse, y'all gotta get on Clubhouse. And I'm rolling my eyes like, I don't want to be on another social media platform. I am not signing up for something else. And at that point, I'm not an Apple girl. I'm Android. And it was not open to Android. It was only open to Apple. And I'm like, and I got to go around, do all these hoops. Like, I don't even have Apple. I got to go. My husband has Apple. They're like, oh, you can use his iPad. And it was like, I just can't even deal. I'm not, just leave me alone. I'm not doing another, like, why do I gotta talk to people? I gotta sit on there and talk to people all day. Like, I need to go on, see what you posted about, read it, and go on with the rest of my day. I don't got time to be sitting and listening to people talk for hours, because some of these rooms be like hours and hours long. And I'm like, how do they even do this? Eventually, long story, I finally was like, all right, let me go ahead. Like, cause she was just like, get on Clubhouse, get on Clubhouse. So I got my husband's iPad. I tried to do the whole finagling, making an iPad, Apple iTunes account. I don't know, whatever I had to do to access his iPad on my own and download the app. It was just like, I don't know. It was a bunch of hurdles that I just couldn't have the patience to figure out. So I kind of put that to the side for a little bit. And then like 2 weeks later, it opened to Android. And so I was like, oh, okay, good. So I got on it and I signed up for a couple of like real estate clubs. Like, I'll see what this is about. And I think probably one of the first rooms I went in, I think Brittany was talking on, she was on the floor. Like, I forgot, I don't even know what it's called when you're up and you can speak, you're in the speaker box area. But so Brittany was talking, and she said something about her mission being to close the wealth gap, the racial wealth gap. And I was like, whoa, this is my girl. Like, I need to find out more about her. And she said something about like she didn't even say anything about the mastermind. I just went to her IG to check it out, because you have to connect an Instagram to it. And then I saw on the IG the mastermind, because there was somebody else I had met in Clubhouse, and I messaged her. I was like, that girl we heard talking, she has a mastermind. I think I'm going to join. Right. So it was just all of that. And the other girl, she was like, okay, I'll look at it. I don't know who or where she is now. I don't remember her name, or I had to go through past IG for, I don't know how long ago, but like the very next day, I ended up just signing up, and I've been in Wire ever since. And that is the story. And that's because the mission statement was so strong and so aligned. And I had just been going, like the previous fall, I had just been going through my own kind of internal struggle on solidifying my mission and being okay with saying that my mission was to help minorities and Blacks, and saying that out loud and having that be the forefront of my mission, instead of saying having a mission that helps everybody and then the background mission, or I really want to make this money so I can help feed it into Black communities and help with the wealth gap and do all this stuff. Because a lot of people do think saying your mission is this out loud kind of will inhibit your growth. And so it's a real conversation and thought process that I've had these conversations with people, and behind the scenes, it's like, yeah, that's my mission too. But, I'm just going to make my money where I can, and then I can still affect change in the background. So I struggled with which approach to take in the developing and determining my mission, whether I should be upfront about that or do it in the background like other people. And if it really was going to, stifle my growth, I guess. And I decided to go with it. And then I
And
hear
what
Brittany
happened?
saying that on this. Yeah. Then
So
things just started falling in place. And everybody who
yeah.
has like in alignment with that, is in
Yeah.
my circle.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it
I
just
can
like it gave
feel
me
that.
that extra like just confidence and connection that somebody else was saying it out loud.
I
Mhm.
really struggled with that. I can remember sitting in front of my computer, like trying to put into words what it was that I wanted to accomplish. And I can remember the imposter syndrome just like creeping up through my body. Like, who am I to say that? Like, that's such a big task. And people might feel alienated, and they're gonna say I don't like white people and all sorts of stuff, right? And it was really hard. I remember the first time I said it on Clubhouse or said it publicly, and it was hard. It was hard, but I'm so glad that I stepped into my authenticity, and I didn't feel like anything else really encompassed all it was that I wanted to accomplish. And so I'm really glad to hear you I'm not alone in that we had similar experiences, because I hope that it lets other people know that if there's something that you feel like is too big, you're probably on the right track. If it creeps up on you and you're uncomfortable about being honest about it because it just seems too big, you're on the right track. That's probably what you should be working on. That's probably what you should be doing.
100%. And I think that what we need to talk about, and I've been waiting on the right moment to say this. I knew from the second we were going to come do this show, I know we've been talking about it for a minute, that I wanted to acknowledge a couple things about you, but I don't want to make you blush on your own show. But
Yeah, I got a image to uphold. I'm tough girl
right.
image.
Of course, of course. But that, you're proving the point in real time, right? You found somebody who's got a similar perspective, point of view. You found a tribe of people who are probably in, similar starting places, for lack of better terms. And we have watched you grow. And that's, when you talk about why community is so important, that's exactly why. So it's extremely fortuitous and serendipitous for us to be here. And one of the things I want to acknowledge is, first of all, we are grateful for the opportunity for you bringing us onto your show. We're so excited for this. I see every post that you put up that I like, and I want to support everything that you're doing. And I remember you had told me, because we were talking about doing a Wire podcast at a point. I mean, it's still on the agenda. We just haven't been able to get there. We're just so busy. But I
Yeah.
remember you saying to me, I want to do a podcast too. Do you think that would conflict? And I'm like, no. What do you mean? No, absolutely not. I want to see you thrive. I want to see you succeed. And what you did was you came into an environment, you heard something that you found some commonality, you saw something that was possible, and you had the confidence to live that out. And now we couldn't be more proud of what you're doing now. Just to see your progress, not even just as a real estate professional, but as a human, as a mom, right? Not even just your assets and your properties, but how you're now taking it on to teach other people. You're pouring back into the community. I mean, I don't know that Brittany and I could ask for a better member to our community, a better colleague, a better friend. You're exactly who we want to be around. So we have to take a moment and commend you for everything that you have accomplished and trusting us to create an environment where you felt comfortable to discover some of these things about yourself. So good job. Like flowers and flowers and flowers.
Blushing is happening.
Hold down. Girl, I remember you would get on like every meeting and there's babies everywhere, babies crawling on you, babies screaming. Like you stuck in there. You did whatever you had to do. It did not matter who was screaming in the background. You were unmuting that mic and you were asking your question. You know, like I that gave me so much courage for what I like. Seeing women like you, seeing you in specific, makes me feel like whatever I want to do in the future, if I want to be a mom, I can be a mom and I can still be myself, right? I think you've done that so well. And I'm so impressed with, like, for anybody who doesn't know, Nicole also runs a circle for us every month about microfamily. And it's incredible the depth of knowledge that you've gained in such a short amount of time and what you've been able to accomplish, and how you have really like absorbed so much information, so much knowledge, made yourself entrenched in great communities. I mean, what you've done in such a short amount of time, hands down, like I'm always inspired by you.
We are, and we take that personally, right? Because we can't, if you're showing up the way that you are, we can't not show up. There's no way. Like it just makes everything for us so much better. We know that a Nicole is going to get value out of this. We know she's going to appreciate this. We know that this is going to positively impact her life. So with how serious you've taken this and this journey, not only are you a walking testament, but you contribute so much to our Wire community that Brittany and I mean, we couldn't stop if we wanted to. Like we couldn't, because people like you make this worth it. So thank you for what you do.
Oh, you guys are the best. That was too much. That was so kind. And honestly, I have to give it back to you. Like, you made me comfortable to unmute my mic, even if there's kids screaming in the background, because you had already established that there was no judgment, and you could already feel that there was no judgment, and that like there's so many times when I've cried on wire calls, and y'all had me crying in front of other people in public, like just when we were doing
we've all cried, we've all done it.
Well, we've had those calls where it's like just the life circle calls, and everyone's talking about like their issues and traumas and things that they're working through and all this, like, and people were sharing some really deep personal information, and like I was just touched hearing other people's journeys, and sometimes somebody would say something that's just welling up an emotion in me because of something similar I'm going through, and because I was able to, and not that I was trying to, it just like happened naturally, but it felt comfortable because everyone else was in that same space. And, you know, I look like most of the people there. And so we all have a shared experience, and you really could feel the no judgment. I'll share that I have been on calls with another mastermind where, you know, every time everyone in the circle would have to give their not opinion, but their updates to what's happening, you know, since the last month or whatever. And they basically at one point told me, not on the call, but afterwards, they were telling me about my kids in the background making too much noise. Because I guess it's for the recordings, and now they probably couldn't use that recording because, you know, my kids is yelling and screaming in the background. But also, and so yes, I got defensive about that, but I asked, okay, well, let me go at an earlier slot, because they would always end up coming to me like as one of the last people to do my presentation or to talk. But my kids have to go to bed, and they're rowdy at 8:30 at night because it's time for them to go to bed, and I'm not able to put them to bed because I'm the one in charge of that. Dad doesn't really do it the same. Like, it won't happen if it's dad. So if you want me to be here present on the call, let me go fast. Like, at the time, I'm on the East Coast. There's people in the call who are on the West Coast. Like, let them go last because it's still earlier for them at that point. It's 8:00 for me. It might be 4:00 for somebody else. That makes a huge difference with my nightlife routine and with young kids. So I was like, yeah, you can rotate or let me go, one of the first slots. But otherwise, it was just like offensive that there was just no consideration of the members of the group, I felt, and being able to include people who have different lifestyle, like backgrounds and responsibilities to be able to still participate. So yes, thank you for letting my kids cry in the background. And I put myself back on mute as quickly as possible. But I just think there needs to be consideration on both sides of the table.
I don't know what gender had this conversation with you, but you know
what gender had this conversation with.
Sounds about right. But you know what I do not have a tolerance for is for when people can't put themselves in someone else's shoes. It's like being out in the store and someone's kid is acting up and you're looking at the parent like, are they crazy? This child is being a child, right? Like this is not necessarily a reflection on parenting in the moment, right? Circumstances happen, things happen, children have their own minds, personalities, right? So at any given point in time, right, like there's this pressure, I think, on moms. And I'm not a mom, Brittany and I, we're not moms yet, but we have so many moms in our community, and that we knew from the moment that we started this thing that it's already hard enough for us. Life is already hard enough. Making money is already hard enough. Making goals happen and taking care of other people, it's already hard enough. The last thing that you're going to get when you come into a wire room is a hard time about life being hard, right? And so that was one of the things from the very, very, very beginning. And we've been on calls. You've been on the train going to and from work, and the fact it says more about your character that in spite of everything going on around you, that you still showed up. Why would I ever make you feel a way about that? So I don't know who that leader was, but send them this clip.
Oh man.
Okay, guys, don't kill me, but I'm going to have to cut this episode short. This is too juicy, and we need to do this in a part 2. So stay tuned for the next episode that airs, and you can hear the rest of our conversation.
Did you love this episode of Share the Wealth Show? Be sure to connect with Nicole by following her on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook. If you picked up any of the gems that were dropped by today's guest, make sure you not only put them in your bag, but if you know of someone who would benefit from this information, don't keep it to yourself. Share the wealth and make sure to leave us a rating and review. We'll see you for next week's episode. Subscribe so you'll be notified.